record.
Gary needed to hit record.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we've called it to order at 10:10. We're not going to do a moment of silence again, but we are going to certify the quorum.
We can certify that we have a quorum present. We have Boyd on the phone. Everyone else is here in person. And the meeting was properly noticed online and here for lunch.
Okay.
Moving on to the minutes. The minutes for our last annual meeting last year were compiled and distributed. So no changes, so we'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
This is an owner's vote, not a board vote.
Oh, yeah. You just keep me in line because I'll
Yeah.
screw it all up. You know, I do it every year.
So you need to make sure you're unmuted and hear the people say aye and nay and all that.
Can you unmute everybody here?
I think they have to unmute themselves, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have to unmute themselves. I can go through and with each one ask them to unmute.
So everybody, if you can hear me, we have, oh, that's the same galaxy waiting to come in. It's an owner vote for accepting the minutes from the last owners meeting. So
Yeah.
you can unmute yourself. We still need to have a board motion, correct? First,
Well, it could,
we'd have a
everybody's an
motion.
owner, so
Yeah, okay.
the motion and second can come
All right.
from in here.
So
if it has
can
to.
I get a motion and a second to accept the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so we got that. Any discussion? No? Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. We need to have a vote to approve the minutes from the September 6, 2019 annual meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's good. That's good.
They're paying attention.
Okay,
Aye.
did you get all those names?
I can vote on
Yeah.
it. Well, ask for nays.
I do have the DeMott's power, their proxy to vote for Terry and Michelle.
So ask for nays.
Oh, are there any nays? Okay, thank you.
So the motion's passed.
Motion.
See, I mean, where's Niebling? He's supposed to be cracking the whip on.
Isn't Niebling, is he not on?
We didn't get up there.
That's the Galaxy one, probably.
He took the.
No, they don't have, they're Apple people.
He comes in as
Okay, I'm going to just remind everybody quickly. Obviously, today is election day. We do still have a ballot box outside here. I think it's still out there, right? Yeah. So if you haven't turned in your ballot and you're on property and need to do so, please find a point to hook your way down here and turn in your ballot, okay? At last count, we were at 177?
yes.
177, okay. All right, so we're going to start this off. I'll just give a quick update. First of all, thank you all for joining. I guess you just don't care about board meetings because we didn't have anywhere near this many people at the board meeting yesterday. So I'm glad to see so many people here today. We did have a very productive board meeting yesterday. We'll repeat a couple of things that we did yesterday as part of the meeting today. You want to start with financial reports, Joe?
Sure.
Or do we need to wait?
Well,
it's 10:15, so he gets here at 10:30?
Yeah, Todd's supposed to be here.
Yeah, so that'll probably work perfectly.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, financial report. So I gave a detailed financial report at the board meeting. As usual, at the owners meetings, we do a 50,000 foot level snapshot of where we are. It's a summary, and that is usually given by our CPA, Tommy Meadows, and he's here to do that. So Gary, if you want to put that up on the screen, and
Sure.
Tommy will speak to that and let us all know where we stand financially.
Hang on 1 second. Whoever is iPad 6, can you please identify yourself? And you're going to have to unmute. You're going to have to unmute yourself. And also Galaxy Note 10.
iPad 6 looks like Julie.
That's Julie.
Is that-
Stand
but-
over there.
But Julie
You'll
was
be on
in
camera.
elsewhere also.
Yeah, but she-
Julie, you're muted. If that's you.
Julie,
yeah.
you're muted.
There was something wrong with the speaker on my computer, so I switched from the computer to my iPad.
Okay,
We got you. Okay.
all right.
And
Well,
off the-
hey, Julie Houston, is Julie Glenn joining?
Yes, she will. She's on the way to the office right now.
Okay, good.
Oop. I just muted her, and there's Julie right now coming in. Galaxy Note 10, if you could identify yourself, we would very much appreciate it.
All right. Well, let's just keep rolling.
Okay. Let me send them back to share the screen. And that was,
Annual meeting slides, I think is the title of the file. There's actually two different files. One is that that pie chart is there too.
this one.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yep, that's where we'll start. Am I speaking to a microphone or just speak up?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so as Joe mentioned, am I in the right place here? As Joe mentioned, we are giving kind of a 50,000 foot view of the financial situation of Tamaron this morning. A lot of the details are covered in the board meetings in much more depth, but for now, just kind of a summary of the financial health overall of Taco and how we're doing this year, looking at year-to-date numbers as of August 31st. You see here on the screen now, we've got August 31st of 2020. I'm sorry, August 31st of 2020, and then the column next to it of 2019, just to kind of compare where we are at this point this year versus this point last year. The total cash balance right now is about a little over 1.2 million. It was a little under 1.1 million at the same time last year. Specifically, we call out the three accounts that constitute the permanent reserve cash. This year, we're at about 766,000 versus 759,000. So just a little bit more in permanent reserves than we were this time last year. There's always some fluctuation there to be expected as we put contributions in every year, but also use some of that money for its intended purposes as the year goes by. If we can scroll up just a tiny bit, the other thing to call attention to on this page is our accounts receivable. At this point, same time last year, the AR was about 72,000. This year, we're at about 33. The anomaly actually was last year. Looking back the last several years, for some reason, and we looked at it last year and saw that the AR was a little bit slower to be collected as of this point last year than normal. And we're back on normal this year. All of that AR eventually did come back into line last year. It was just a timing thing. It seemed like the money was a little bit slower for some reason at this point last year, but nothing in that turned out to be a severe problem or any cause for alarm. It was just timing differences. On to the next page then. This will be our income statement snapshot for our operating accounts. I need to explain something that causes most of the differences that you see on here. There's a timing difference in how we receive the revenue versus the budget, because the budget is allocated on a monthly basis, but the billings for our maintenance department are quarterly, and so that causes a little bit of a discrepancy since August 31st is not exactly on the quarter. That explains almost everything that you see in the differences here. And specifically, we look, there's about $30,000 in maintenance revenue that's not been booked in yet. And so those things will come back into line once the quarter comes to an end. In actuality, when those things are all considered, we are really close onto the year-to-date budget, both in the revenue and in the expenditures. I would point out in the expenditures, operations is, besides the timing difference, there's also some differences in when the maintenance expenses occur. A lot of the maintenance work is done in the fall of the year, and so we budget those things and the budget gets allocated over 12 months, even though a lot of the money comes out in the fall months as we head toward winter. But again, everything seems to be pretty much on target with those expenditures. Probably will be right on budget as the year end approaches. We don't really expect that $172,000 surplus that's showing right now to stick around. As the
the maintenance is accomplished and as the timing differences come back into line as the quarter and then the year comes to an end. In personnel, the staff has been,
Sorry, Boyd.
because of COVID, it has been a little bit short for much of the summer. I understand that staffing is back up to full levels now, and so that number will also stay on pace for the remainder of the year. There is also then a little bit of a difference in the utilities billing because of some discussion ongoing with Glacier about a particular portion of the utilities bill. Once that's worked out, we'll either have a decision to our advantage, which means we'll stay under the budgeted expense for the year, or it'll come out back to what was budgeted by year end. But apart from that and well, that one issue, the utilities expense seems to be on track with what was expected for the year. Can we scroll up then to the capital account? In the capital, there we go. In the capital account, the revenues are just an allocated portion of the overall association dues, and so because that happens, the budget is exactly right because it's a planned amount to transfer into the capital expenditures budget. We do have budgeted an amount for an elevator project. You see that has not been spent yet. That's expected to happen before the end of the year. There was a little bit of budgeted money, when I say a little bit, $50,000 in budgeted money last year that was not spent in 2019, that was carried over into the 2020 budget, that is expected to be consumed by the end of the year on capital projects. Our capital expenditures then, same as I mentioned a moment ago with the maintenance, some of those things are planned to happen in the fall. And so it looks at the moment like we're a little bit under budget on capital expenditures, but we expect that to clear up as the year progresses, as all those capital projects are accomplished in the fall. And then of course there's a transfer from the capital account planned to permanent reserves, and that amount happens right on schedule. All that said, it looks like we have a net deficit in the capital account of about $58,000, but those are just the timing differences, the money that hasn't been spent, the things that have been done. I'd say a deficit, it's actually an income number. Compared to the budget, we have spent significantly less than budgeted so far, but it will come about. On to the next slide then. This is our permanent reserves. The only things we really have going on in permanent reserves is transferring money in as scheduled. We have interest income and we have money that's transferred out for capital projects. The elevator project here is the big planned expenditure. Overall, you see then, because that elevator project has not been accomplished yet, you see that we're, it appears that we are over budget by 180 something thousand dollars at this point. Really, that won't be true once that elevator project is accomplished and the money is transferred out of the permanent reserves. Apart from that, everything in permanent reserves is pretty well on track with the budgeted plan. Onto the rental front desk program. The overall revenues are right on track for the front desk for the rental program. Expenditures are right as planned. Personnel, everything is pretty much on plan for the year in the front desk. So I don't know if there's really anything more to dive into in the front desk income statement. And let's see, what do we have next? This awesome graph that shows us where the overall money goes. This is a graph summarizing all of the expenditures from Tamarron and the percentages as they work out. That utilities is the bright blue section up in the kind of the top right quadrant, and that's about 30%. Utilities comprise the largest single component of TACO's budget every year. Next to that is the kind of bottom right, which is personnel. That's 24% of the total budget goes to personnel expenditures. Then as we continue on around the graph, we see maintenance at about 15%, capital projects at about 14%, administrative costs at about 9% of the total, insurance on the property at about 4%, and then contributions to reserves of about 3% as we get back up to the top of the graph. And that's just a quick summary of where all the budget goes, how it's used, how the board allocates the expenditures for TACO. Did anybody have any questions or anything that you didn't hit?
Just going back on the contributions to reserves.
Yes.
you showed the budget line of the rental income from the unit that the association owns as being a budgeted item.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been contributed to capital. Is there,
Th-
what's
th-
going on
well,
there?
that's right. So far, the revenue that's been received on that unit is on track, but it's been deposited into operating accounts. And at some point by year end, or maybe just shortly after the year end, there'll be just a transfer done, so that we're not having to do a little cash transfer every month to track that into reserves, but it will end up there by the end of the year.
Okay. Do you need a board motion to actually move that money to?
We
to
We did
capital?
that. We did that last year at the budget meeting.
That's kind of what I thought. That's why I was surprised it
It
wasn't.
just hasn't been moved yet.
Okay.
The cash just hasn't been.
Okay.
It's
The
a,
cash is there, it's just sitting in the operating accounts to be moved all at once. Anything else?
Looks good.
Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
Todd is in the meeting.
he is in the meeting? Okay, great. So Gary, why don't you,
Before we go to Todd real quick, we need to clarify something. John wanted us to point out the fact that we have the quorum for the owners. We're required for the votes to have 132, is that the right number?
132.
132, we have 177, as I mentioned earlier, plus whatever gets turned in. So I believe, John, that's what you wanted me to reference. If that's not correct, please let us know. So we do have a quorum. We
Is that
certify
John Niebling you're talking about?
Yeah, he was texting.
He sent me text.
Oh, okay. How is he listening in?
There's something that says John's iPhone, and that might be,
It just,
Yeah.
Oh,
it
okay.
just went by.
He texted me yesterday during the board meeting. Okay. I guess if he's not on there, he can't text a message, can he? He's gonna do it that way. All right, so,
All right.
is,
Todd's there. I saw him come in.
so Todd, oh, there you are. Hi, Todd, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Good. So this is Todd Beckstead. Todd is with his accounting firm in Grand Junction, and he's been doing our audits and reviews for the last many years. He's usually here with us today, but because of the current situation, he's doing it online. And so I'll turn it over to Todd to give you a report on the audit of the 2019 financials. And Gary, Todd, Gary's going to put that your audit report up on the screen as soon as he finds it.
That's not it.
Thank you. It's great to be with you this morning. I appreciate the opportunity to present the audit to you. As was mentioned, I've been doing the audits and reviews for some time now. We alternate years. 1 year we do a review, which is less in scope than an audit, and then the next year we do a full audit. 2019 was a full audit year. What that means is that I trace certain transactions back to original supporting documentation, to invoices and contracts and other supporting documentation. And then based on that test work, I issue an opinion as to whether the financial statements are fairly presented. It is my opinion that the 2019 financial statements are fairly presented. The audit did result in an adjustment for accounts payable. There were some accounts payable that had been recorded at December 31st, 2018 that hadn't been fully reversed in 2019. We took care of that as part of the audit. I would let you know that the audit went well. Management was well prepared. Elisa and Tommy's office and were very well prepared. The records were in good condition, and they gave me everything that I asked for. We didn't have any disagreements over accounting matters. Things were fairly straightforward during the year. We did have the purchase of Unit 110. That was probably the most significant transaction during the year, I guess out of the ordinary anyway, was the purchase of Unit 110. Again, everything went smoothly, and I don't have any internal control weaknesses to report. the reconciliations that were performed by management agreed with supporting information and everything tied out. So I'm happy to report that my opinion is what we refer to as a clean opinion or unmodified opinion, and that the financial statements do fairly present the operations of the association for 2019. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have at this point.
I'll also, this is online now, right?
Mhm.
So this report, for everyone's information, is posted on the Tamarron website. And so if you want to review the entire audit report, you can do that that way.
Hey, Todd, this is Scott. I want to make one comment. This came up yesterday, and Eric shared last year's report to remind me what was in it. As you're aware, I think you're aware, last year we went through and updated our documents to allow to change so that we could get financing on the units here. As we've gone through this year, we've had some questions about our long-term asset replacement policy and whether or not it's reviewed, it's professionally prepared and reviewed. I know it's in this report, but we may want to add some language to your letter indicating that that you've reviewed the long-term asset replacement policy so that we can share this with lenders when they ask about it. I think when they see this, the spreadsheet, it's not clear to them, at least when we shared the spreadsheet, it hasn't been clear to them that it was reviewed by you. So we're going to have to start sharing this as well. I'm just giving you a heads up. I may ask you to change some language relative to that, just so we can get past these silly questions we keep getting.
Okay, we can look into that and discuss it there as that need arises. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
We need to go through.
No.
You're not talking about amending last year's report that's just been issued or argued. Let's make it clear so we understand.
No, I'll call them offline on it. Okay, yeah. It's nothing we need to
Deal with
get
it
through
right
now.
now. Okay.
Doesn't sound like there's any questions, Todd. So thank you very much. Appreciate you checking in with us today and all the work you did on the report, which, by the way, with last minute questions was finalized yesterday. So yeah, thanks again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thank you to the board for hiring me to do your audit. It's a pleasure to work for the association, and if you have any questions as you review the final report or throughout the year, I'm happy to entertain those. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'm going to switch up. I don't know if I'm necessarily switching up order here, but in the interest of two people who have joined the call who are ridiculously busy right now, I'm going to ask that Julie Houston and Julie Glenn give us the real estate report now. I know they're both very busy, and I told her I'd do it at 10:30. So you probably both need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
So before you get started, if everybody saw the newsletter, Julie Houston had an announcement in the newsletter relative to her beginning her retirement phase. So I asked you to give a real estate report and really just provide an update to that in a little more color than what we had in the newsletter. So go ahead, Julie.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Hang on a minute. This is, sorry. That's my life even now. So I'm coming to you from Minnesota right now at my my mother's home, and so we have started our journey. We'll be here until October 2nd, but I'm still busy. Julie Glenn is now taking over the office at Tamarron. What are you laughing about, Scott?
What are you laughing about, Scott?
You just had his camera on and he turned it off. Galaxy Note 10, we still don't know who the hell you are. So if you can speak up, that would be helpful.
Am I on still here?
Yes,
yeah,
you
you're
are.
still on. Go ahead.
So anyway, Julie Glenn, I wanted to introduce her today because it's a coincidence that I'm Julie and she's Julee, but she is now going to be in the office. So she is also a Sotheby's real estate agent. We've worked together at the Wells Group for many years prior to switching over to Sotheby's, but we feel that this was a good move. And so please go down and introduce yourselves to Julie if you get a chance to the next time that you're in Durango. As far as the update on the real estate, I've got all kinds of calls when we were shut down for 2.5 months because of COVID, and everybody wanted to know, what I thought, how this was the COVID was gonna impact real estate sales. And I honestly had no idea, but I can say now after going through the summer that it is the most robust real estate season that I've ever seen in the over 20 years that I've been doing this. I think Julie Glenn would agree. Everybody, it's not just us, but it's everybody is busy, appraisers, inspectors, and right now the title companies are the ones that are so backed up with 30 to 40 orders that they're getting a day. That's what we have to build into our transactions anymore to get things done. To bring you up to date, I will have a spreadsheet that I've had in the past available to you. I'll send it to Gary and he can either put it on the website or you can pick it up in our office. But for this year, we've had 46 sales so far at Tamarron, and we've got 16 under contract. This is the most we've ever had under contract at any given time. And right now in all of Tamarron, there's only 3 units that are available, and there are 0 lodge units, which is something that I've never seen before. So, I can just, the price per square foot has gone up. The days on market have gone down. So I think it's a pretty good sign that people want to come to Durango. And I think, having all of the amenities and the golf and the tennis available, everything has, all of the exterior renovations are done. It's all given a pretty rosy market to Tamarron. Pretty popular place now. So that's about it for me. Scott, you touched a little bit on the financing. We've had, let's see, we had 28 cash deals and 16 conventional loans so far, and then 2 others. So I think early on, we still had a couple of the portfolio loans, but now everybody that's getting a loan is going the conventional route. So we have been successful in that. There's, as you mentioned, are a few bugs with some lenders who haven't quite caught up to the fact that Tamarron is now considered a warrantable as opposed to non-warrantable community. But I think, if we can work out a couple of those bugs, it has nothing to do with the worthiness of the borrower. It's all about the lender recognizing that we're a warrantable community now. So
Yeah, maybe
that's
I'll
it.
take a second just to clarify what warrantable means. So up until last year, our documents did not have language in it specific to recognition of the lien holders or the mortgagees. Many of you got emails asking for you to confirm whether you had a mortgage on your property. That's primarily because we are now required to notify the mortgagees in the event something catastrophic were to happen to the property. So that was the logic and the rationale behind that. What warrantable means is that basically that Fannie and Freddie will allow us to, or allow a loan to be sold to them for the Tamarron units. And we had to change the language to get that to happen. So those 16 units purchases are only those that we're aware of that had financing for purchase with a warrantable. I'm sure people have refied too. I will tell everyone, just in the event that you're thinking about a refinance or anything like that, I would suggest you reach out to me, or if you're, thinking about purchasing or anything like that, make sure to ask about the lenders, because every lender has what we have to complete for every lender a condo certificate for every loan that's done. And once we get a lender to recognize Taco as warrantable, then they're much easier to work with. Getting that review process done can be somewhat painstaking. I've been on a lot of phone calls trying to get deals done over the course of the last 6 months, and I've literally gone upstream to CEOs of mortgage companies that I know and said, hey, I need your help getting this our condo unit approved. Just going with any Tom, Dick, or Harry lender is going to put you on, you might have some heartburn as a result of that. So it does take a little bit of time to get these condo certs done. So if it is something you're thinking about doing and you're looking for a lender that's already been approved or already approved our units, I should say, it would make life a lot easier, not just for Julie, but for me and ultimately for you in the transaction, because it is a little bit of a painstaking process to get those approvals.
Scott, I don't know if it makes a difference, but I'd like to plug Cornerstone as a lender that has already accepted Tamaron as a community that they can do a conventional loan on, which is a 30-year fixed loan. They've already approved Tamaron, and we've already completed several loans with them. So even though Venice Fagerlin, who was working with us, she's no longer working at Cornerstone, but I have other contacts that can help us. If somebody's looking for a lender, that's already approved us. Okay.
All right, Julie Glenn, you want to say a few things?
Of course she does.
Oh, hi there, everybody. I'll tell you, I'm excited to be here, and I know I have some big shoes to fill. And I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone. Thank you for having me aboard.
All right.
Welcome aboard.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right, thanks y'all, appreciate you doing that. Next, Brooke and Terry, you were on, correct? Did they confirm they were on? Yeah, they did. Oh, 2-8. Okay.
Correct, we're on.
All right. I mentioned in the board meeting yesterday that we had a party interested in looking at the restaurant again. As everyone's aware, we lost Yellow Carrot a year ago or longer.
About a year and 9 months.
Yeah, a year and 9 months, because it was in January. At any rate, right after that happened, Brooke and Terry were here looking at the property and inquired on the restaurant space at that time. They owned a restaurant in California. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, let them tell their own story. But they've since purchased a unit here, moved here in May or June, and are now on site and have been going through some licensing and some other things locally to do something with our restaurant space. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them tell their story.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Brooke and I'm here with my wife Terry. Board and everyone, we appreciate the opportunity to have the time to provide just a little bit of an overview of who we are and what we'll be doing or what we would like to be doing. We're really, really excited to be back in Colorado, especially this part of Durango. Like most people here, we feel it's a very special and super happy place to be part of the community. This business and restaurant idea here it's been almost 2 years in the making, and a labor of love. And our goal is really just to create a comfortable gathering place for families to come, grab a meal, grab a picnic to go before heading out to the day's adventure, or just to come in and relax and have a drink and a bite to eat, enjoy watching the sports on TV. For me, a little bit about us. I was born and raised in South Carolina and have been in and out of Colorado since '92. Spent my whole life in the restaurant industry, operations, culinary creativity, and ownership. Here with my wife, Terry. She's going to just speak for a moment.
Hi there. So I was born and raised in California and spent most of my career there in the food and beverage industry, and the last 10 years focusing more specifically on wine.
So our restaurant name is going to be Base Camp. It will be a plant-based restaurant, full bar with a small market. anyone that knows the inside of the restaurant, there's a area off the bar that previous probably was used as a chef's table or a private, semi-private dining. We're going to turn that into a small market. We want to be upscale casual, very approachable atmosphere. Initially, we plan to be open 5 days a week, serving to-go breakfast and full-service lunch and dinner, with the goal to be open daily down the road. Our breakfast grab and goes initially would consist of things like breakfast burritos, breakfast sandwiches, granola fruit, variety of muffins, oatmeals, coffee, fresh juices, things like that. But down the road, we do plan to open for full service brunch on the weekends. A little bit about the food we'll be offering. For those who may not know exactly what plant-based means, I'll give you a quick breakdown. All of our dishes and products are made 100% without animal products, so without meat, dairy, etc. We're working on some gluten-free options as well. As soon as we can get into the space, and prior to opening, we'll test out some newer gluten-free recipes that we've been working on here in our unit. Our philosophy is food should make you feel better and not worse, and that food should be full of flavor and texture. So we'll be offering both classic comfort foods as well as anti-inflammatory dishes that were inspired by Dr. Andrew Weil's anti-inflammatory diet. I learned a ton from working with Dr. Weil during my time with True Food Kitchen, and we're really excited to share some of these dishes with everyone as well. For those of you concerned, our menu will be a far cry from tofu burgers and soy dogs and salads. And of course, we'll have delicious salads, but we're much more than that. Our goal is to offer both healthy options and comfort food that are both filling and full of flavor. Terry and I have eaten a plant-based diet for over 10 years, and during that time, we focused on creating a book of recipes it's been given accolades to some of our biggest skeptics, many who are non-plant-based chef friends and colleagues of ours. The bar, Terry's going to talk to you a little bit about the bar and what we're doing there.
So we'll have a full bar offering both traditional and creative seasonal cocktails. And the wine list will both be approachable by the glass selections, as well as some high-end limited production wines from both Old World and New World producers. We'll be putting together an initial wine survey to send out to the Tamarron owners to get your feedback so that we can ensure that we'll be providing in both the restaurant and the market selections that reflect what the overall community wants to see offered. And down the road, we'd like to offer some winemakers dinners, wine beer tastings, maybe some high-end whiskey tastings, as well as a quarterly wine club.
And for the market, mindful that it's a very small space, but we'll be offering beer, spirits, and wine, just as you would see if you went down to the liquor store. We'll have that here on property, as well as a variety of foods, breads, pastas, produce, sauces, crackers, snacks, drinks, sundries. We'll have pre-made food to go for those who want to just grab a few things and take it to the river or up to Purgatory. We'll try to squeeze in as much as possible, and of course build certain offerings over the time. The market will be open the same hours as the restaurant, and as of now, our projected open date is somewhere early to mid-December. One thing, talking with quite a few of the neighbors that we've had a pleasure of meeting so far, their biggest concern was the chairs and how uncomfortable they are. So we hear you, and we will make that correction before we get open. Again, we're really thrilled about being part of this community and be able to bring something new and exciting. And we both sincerely look forward to getting to know all of our members here and be a part of the community. And thanks for giving us this time, Scott.
Yeah, no problem. So I failed to open up for questions, I should say, for Julie. Did anybody have any questions for Julie or for Brooke and Terry? Please be mindful of the fact that you might be pouncing on each other, so if you do, just unmute yourself and ask a question. All right. That sounds like no questions. Okay. Thanks, Brooke, Terry. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Look forward to it, definitely. Okay. So, why don't we go ahead and go through the rules and regs discussion we had yesterday,
Okay.
and the escalation process that we somewhat tweaked a bit yesterday.
Good morning, everyone. Wanted to just make a couple reminders about the rules and regulations. First off, we keep those updated on the web. So if you have questions or you're not sure about a certain rule or regulation, you can pull up the Tanner HOA website and the information will be there. We continue to get basically the common complaints, animals off leash, noise, and we've had a couple of comments about people speeding through the area. We'll work with the Glacier Club on that. But again, if there's a problem or a situation that comes up, we ask that you call the front desk and go through them. Want to avoid having conflicts where people go out and try to handle these things on their own. It always results in additional problems. So call the front desk, let them know what the issue is, and then just go back to your unit, and we'll take care of it from there.
Ron, a couple of people are asking to speak up.
I'm sorry, I'm planning on driving, so. If you want to discuss what we met on 2 days ago, rules, regulations, and
I think we covered that at the board meeting yesterday.
Well, we'll just cover quickly. So one of the, I mentioned the escalation process. As everyone I believe is aware, we covered this in the board meeting yesterday, but we've had some transition, and maybe we should have. Tim, where's Elisa? Is she still here? Is that her
Yeah,
there?
she's just coming back.
Okay, so we've had some transition this year. I'm going to have Tim and Elisa go ahead and introduce themselves again. But in the board meeting yesterday, what we talked about was, what to do if there is a rules and regs concern. Who do we report it to? What Ron just said is send it to the front desk. But I'd also ask that if you do have an issue or a concern, if number one, if you can get a photograph, that's helpful. Number two, report it when it's happening, not 2 days later. It's hard for us to enforce rules and regs or do anything with a problem unless we know about it and can see it. Rather than escalating it through to Ron, for example, as chair of the Rules and Regs Committee, we have the front desk, we have Elisa here, we have Tim Brorin here now, you've got Gary here. Reach out to us and let us know, and if you have to, send an email with a photo, whatever, so that we can address it quickly. This summer we had probably the busiest summer we've ever had here from a rental perspective, and we did have some complaints, some concerns. Again, we do our best to enforce, but when we're that busy, we really need your help to help us enforce. So. That was really what the tone of the meeting was making sure that we addressed matters and had a better escalation process here. So on that note, I wanted to make a comment about the transition. Everybody's aware that last year Dave Dunn informed us that he wanted to begin slowing down. We hired a general manager, Steve O'Rourke. Steve was here for about 6 months and decided that he wanted to go back to California, be closer to family. So he notified Joe and I of his intent to resign. It just so happens that basically almost the same day or the same week that happened, we were informed that Elisa Oliger, who has been our accountant for 18 years, was available. So we quickly pounced on that and got her resume. We hired Elisa to run all the business operations. I think most of you are aware of that. Because one of Steve's roles was also going to be on the maintenance side, we decided that we needed to begin working more diligently on finding somebody to really fill in for Dave, and sooner than later, so that we could get as much information out of Dave as we could, before the snow starts flying. So at any rate, I wanted them to have an opportunity to introduce themselves. They did this yesterday at the board meeting, but seeing as we have a lot more people on the call today, I'm going to have them go ahead and do it again in the event you guys haven't been. So Elisa, you can start.
Elisa Oliver. I grew up in Durango, and again, I've been doing your accounting, bookkeeping for about almost 20 years now. Thrilled to be here. I'm supervising the front desk. I think we've got a great team right now at the front desk, and I appreciate all of you being patient with them during this crazy time with them having new rules to follow and new transitions for all of them as well. So yeah, please email or call me with questions, and I'd like to meet more of you who people on property. Come by and say hello.
All right, Tim.
I'm Tim Broran. I was hired in August. My background's been in general contracting and real estate development and some property management. We're focused in on improving some of the processes for escalation of not only rules and regs infractions, but also the maintenance activities. So that's what we're working on here. Nice to meet you.
All right, thanks. So I'd encourage everyone when you're on a property, please swing by and say hello. You know, this is, we've got a lot of new folks. You're going to see, admittedly, probably a lot of changes. We are working on some technology upgrades here. We've got an inventory control system and a maintenance software that we're purchasing. We mentioned yesterday that we're going to look a little more closely at how we communicate with our owners, how assessments are paid. We made a bylaw change yesterday to how we vote. And really all we did was change language in the bylaws that would allow us to have an electronic vote versus spending $1,500 a year to mail out ballots. So we're really trying to do some improvement to the way we've done things historically, and just really upgrade where we're at. Another thing I want to add, since we just heard the real estate report as well as the rules and regs, it kind of dovetails into what we saw this year from the rental program. I'm sure everybody is aware of the changes that we're seeing in real estate in general. We're seeing people working from home now. I can tell you, being in the real estate business, we're seeing builders focusing on what homes look like. They're changing how they're laying the layouts of homes with home offices. There's a whole bunch of things changing. But another thing that we're seeing, because people are working from home, we're seeing them deciding to get out of their house and go to a destination. That's a big reason why we had an increase in rental this year. We had increases this year, and I'll share numbers here in a minute, primarily due to the fact that folks aren't going to cities. They want to go to destination places with outdoor activities. They're driving, they're not flying for the most part. So we saw a huge uptick in activity because of that. They're not wanting to stay in hotels, they want to stay in homes, or they want to stay in condos. As a result, we were slammed this year. I mean, I think everybody is aware, if you were here during the summer, we had parking lot full all the time. Last year, I think we had 15, 20 weddings. This year we had one, but we were more crowded this year than we were last year. So that trend we expect to continue. I think the activity we've seen on the real estate side demonstrates that as well. And we saw exponential increase after we reopened the rental program. So we shut down the rental program in March as we were trying to figure out the COVID situation. We had radical decreases in April and May of our rental activity. Wasn't too bad because it was shoulder season. But when we reopened right before Memorial Day, we saw reservations start to come in. We had a 10%, we had a slight decrease in June, but in July we had a 95% increase in rental revenue, 172% increase in August, and we're projecting about a 60% increase in September. So that rental program revenue was up $15,000. It was like 42 grand.
It's almost double.
Almost
double the current budget.
Right, right. So we, as an association, benefit from having those renters here. They have to pay a monthly stipend. It helps fund the front desk operations, and we expect to see that continue. We don't know what the shoulder season will look like as we get into October and November, but certainly so far September's looking good. So any questions about that at all? All right. Do we have any other committee reports we need to cover? We covered most of this yesterday, but No?
I'd remind everybody it's on, that it's, Gary put it on YouTube, and they can go back and look at the board meeting.
Good point, yeah. The meetings, as Eric alluded to, are recorded, so you can go back and watch that at your leisure. So I guess, can we move on to election procedures now? Do we have anything else we need to cover? Okay. As I mentioned, we have 177 ballots that we are aware of. There is a ballot box here. We need to probably take about a 15-minute break, 20-minute break, something like that, to allow anybody to get over here if they haven't turned in their ballots. I know, I'll get to that. So I'm just reminding you of that.
Plus finish the count.
I'm sorry?
Plus finishing the count.
Plus finishing the count. Yeah, I guess maybe probably need to take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So we have 2 nominees this year, Greg and Ron.
No, Greg and Rick.
Greg and Rick, I'm sorry. Greg and Rick.
Rules and regulations when you get out.
Sorry, my bad. We do have an opportunity to ask for any nominations from the floor. So if anybody wants to nominate themselves or others to be on the board, now would be the time to speak up. You need to unmute yourself and let us know if there are any other nominations. Okay. None being said, then we will. I want to before we adjourn here to take our break. I want to remind everybody that you know the board of directors, obviously, we're a bunch of volunteers. I have 1 more year on the board. Eric has 1 more year on the board. We're required to step down after next year. We're termed out. We would like to have some folks volunteer going forward. So if you're interested in getting on the board, please reach out to one of us and let us know for next year. Because we are going to have, we're going to have a need to get some new folks on. I've been on the board now 6 years. You've been on the board 8 years. You know, the whole purpose of the board is to continue to have new people get involved, new ideas, fresh ideas. So we'd encourage you to please volunteer. And if you're interested, please reach out to us. So with that note, John's not texting us or anything, is he?
No.
Okay. Picture I didn't stir anything else up. All right, so we're going to take about a 30-minute break. If you have a ballot and you haven't turned it in, get down here and turn it in. We'll probably give it about 15 minutes or so before we start counting. Well, actually, we can start counting. If anything comes, we'll just add them. So we will reconvene at 11:30. Yeah, 11:30. Okay, so you can stop the recording.
Okay, we're recording, we're unmuted.
All right, it's 11:31. We are starting the session again. Before we do election results, I just really wanted to open the floor. We didn't really have any unfinished business that we didn't address yesterday on the board meeting. Again, I'd encourage everybody to go back and look at the recording if they have any questions about the board meeting. But I do want to see if there's any new business, anything anybody wants to bring up that wasn't addressed today, wasn't addressed yesterday if you participated, or just questions in general. Got to unmute yourself if you have anything to add. Okay, we have a question. Oh yeah, you check the chat too. We got a question from Alan asking if the Tesla solar panel shingles have been considered for the lodge. I will tell you that we are going back and revisiting the roof right now, and we have had some discussions around adding solar. The roof would have to be completed first. We addressed this at the board meeting yesterday. So one of Tim's first tasks is to try to get us caught up on the roof and figure out what the best approach is to begin looking at that roof replacement. And then, yes, we will likely look at possible opportunities for solar.
And I just add, kind of consistent with what Scott said earlier, if we have any construction folks out there, any folks with expertise in roofing, we're always looking for volunteers to help us on that project.
Any other comments out there we need to address?
Wondering if there's a plan to address the people
Trash dumps.
filling trash dumpsters.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that little pain in the rear end owner we have up the road. Did we ever do anything with that? I asked for pictures. Okay,
Not yet.
so,
haven't seen him since.
yeah, okay. Stacy, to answer your question and just to share Stacy's comment with everyone, we apparently have an owner up that lives in a house up the road who has been borrowing our dumpster on a regular basis. If anybody is here on property and is able to capture a photograph of
When
that,
you say an owner, you mean a Tamron owner?
not a Tamron owner.
Oh,
That's
a homeowner
up the road.
Off-property homeowner.
Yeah, yeah, I think we actually know who the name, don't we?
Yeah.
Drives a blue Jeep, is that
Yeah,
what
blue
I
Jeep,
remember
yeah.
correctly? So, at any rate, if you do see a blue Jeep with Texas plates,
Yes.
with Texas plates,
Which complex does he like to?
Up by High Point, the first house.
Oh, so is he going into High Point and using the dumpster there?
Yeah.
The first house on which side?
The right-hand side.
Oh, I'll
know who
talk
it
to
is.
him.
Yeah.
I know him.
you know who it is?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Larry DeBose.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know Larry.
Go give Larry a hard time.
I will.
I don't know Larry.
Do you know the second house there, Vector?
The second beyond Larry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. him.
Because
Yeah, you do. I know him.
Oh, that's, yeah,
he had either a red Jeep or a red Hummer.
Jay Betker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't had reports of him this year, but in the past, he's dumped there a number of times.
Okay, we pop those comments up again. I
Yeah.
think I saw another comment up there,
So,
something about the elevator being scratched.
so do we agree? I'm gonna talk to Jay and you're gonna talk to,
I'll talk to Larry.
okay.
Yeah,
I see him all the time. I'll stop him and,
tell him we'll send him a bill.
well, I mean, tell him if he gets caught, we could get him cited.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if their neighborhood wants to participate and pay fees like we all pay,
Yeah.
we can entertain that.
Okay, what about the
There's only 6
elevator
houses
on
in
the central tower being painted on the first floor? Says the elevator door is scratched up. That's the one we just replaced,
Is
isn't it?
this, are they talking about the south tower
It
elevator?
says
Central
central
tower.
tower.
So that's the exterior doors, right? Painted?
All right, well, I'll just suffice it to say that Tim is aware of it. If you want to shoot him an email, just to remind him, we'll take a look at it.
This is Gus von Bolschwin. Can you hear me?
Barely,
Not
Gus.
very well, Gus.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes.
Yeah,
we
better.
can- yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is probably, but while we wait, I noticed that the island right in front of the lodge, that the trees are dying out. I seem to recall that Glacier was supposed to put a line in there. That was their responsibility. Was that ever actually done?
Water line?
Water line. That's
Water line.
That's in the process of being done, Gus. I mean, Tim, if you want to take that?
We are hopeful that we're going to get the main irrigation line in yet this fall, and then finish up the landscape improvements in 3 islands there in the springtime.
Great. And on the general subject, and maybe Scott, you've noticed it, and I brought it up once before, on the west side down here in Gamble Oak, the second and third building, the grass looks pretty awful. Part of it has been irrigation, but could you consider putting some money into the budget to do something about it? I think it needs a little bit more than the usual.
Okay, so behind, Tim, behind 790, 792, 93, that whole area on Gamble Oak, the west side that faces 550, the grass is yellowing. So I don't know if it's just an
Yeah.
irrigation.
Oh no. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole different issue. I'm talking about the front, the part facing the pavement.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said the west side, so I assumed you were talking about the back.
Yeah. Well, on the west side of the buildings. So like in front of mine, 789, 788, 789. The other building to the left and to the right.
So you mean between the parking lot and the building then? Okay.
Precisely. Yeah. The rear is a totally different issue.
Yeah, well, I just noticed that when when I got here, it looks pretty crappy, but I know we didn't get a lot of rain until
Hey, Gus,
recently.
there's been some talk about this, and I know Tim's got a new guy on staff that's really smart with irrigation systems, and they're gonna be looking at that. Pinecone has got some issues with it too, and what this all goes back to is when the new irrigation systems were put in, switched over to domestic water from the treated effluent, the pressures that we're getting in many cases are not sufficient to get the right spray. So we're gonna have to be looking at the possibility of either on some circuits, reducing the number of heads, just reevaluating the balancing of the irrigation systems to meet the water pressures that we have. And it's gonna be a process, and there's gonna be some money spent on it. And,
Yeah, and the snow plows also roughed it up.
well, snow plows constantly tear up the edges of the
Yeah.
grass. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it just needs maybe a little bit more than the usual.
yeah, Gus, just to add one this is Eric. We actually budgeted, we recognized the problem a year ago. We budgeted money for irrigation, including a contractor. But COVID kind of destroyed all that in the spring.
Yeah,
So
we had
we understand.
Yeah, we had a dry spring, and we didn't have people here to do the work. So.
Oh, yeah, but it's been developing. It might need some reseeding. I don't know, but anyhow, just bring it up. Thank you very much.
There's a comment about long-term plan for xeriscaping. I think it's, I don't know that we, I'm just going to address landscaping in general. This has been a year where we haven't had a lot of rain. Tim has been here a whopping 5 weeks, 1 month. So there's a lot of things that he's going to be digging into. I'm not going to specifically say that we're going to look at xeriscaping or doing anything, but there's a lot of stuff we're looking into. One of the things we're obviously dealing with now is negotiating the water issues with Glacier, and certainly landscaping water is part of that. So there's a lot of things we're looking into right now. I'm not going to try to address anything specifically here. I'll just commit to you that Tim's on board and is going to be looking into it. Any other comments out there?
I would just add to that, Scott, if an owner has a specific concept they want to implement in that area, talk to Tim before the November budget meeting. Obviously things don't get done if we don't budget for them. So if you've got a plan, bring it forward, and we can set aside some money if the board supports it.
And can I add one other thing? One of the complaints that we get, Taryn mentions this all the time. We've got a number of people who will back their wheels when they park. They back their wheels right up onto the grass. So not only are their wheels on the grass, but now you get part of the car hanging over the grass, and it's hard to mow. It's hard to maintain that part of the lawn, and that's the part next to the parking lot. And generally speaking, that's the part that gets the least amount of irrigation. So if people can just keep from blocking the maintenance of that part of the grass, it would help out.
All right, anything else out there that's meaningful? I don't want to address that last comment.
Okay.
All right.
Can you talk about the fire at Pinecone?
I'd rather not. We're in the process of negotiating with insurance on it. That's not something we're going to address on this call.
Who asked that?
Alan. It's not fair to the owner, and it's really not something for public discussion. And it happened. We're dealing with it. We've got insurance companies talking to each other, so we're addressing it. All right. Election results. Want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Tyler Steele from Elliott Meadows and Associates. And from all the ballots we received, there were 167 total valid ballots. And of those, 2 abstained, and the rest were votes for Greg and Rick. So,
okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Back to the club.
Get away.
I'm going to double your pay.
All right.
We're so glad to have you back.
One last, you want to make a comment that Julie had asked?
Yes, during the break, this is Eric. During the break, I had a quick call from Julie. She just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the folks at Tameron for the relationships and the business relationships that she's enjoyed with all of us over the years. As she said to me, I never say never, but she's certainly looking forward to spending more time with Richard and more time with family. Again, thanks all of the folks at Tameron, present and past, for the good business relationships that she's enjoyed with us.
All right. Stacy, I appreciate your pointing that out. Stacy Laney has just made a comment about thanking everyone for the leadership around COVID. Since you brought it up, I also want to thank everyone for their cooperation. I know this has been a pain in the ass. It is for everyone, no matter where you're at in the country. But I do appreciate everybody doing their part to try to help us manage through this. So on that note, I think do we have to have a motion to adjourn an owners meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
I will second.
All right. Is this
an owner vote.
All owners unmute and tell us if we can go home.
You got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody not in favor? You want to hang out here and watch us on TV? All right. 11:44. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Shortest meeting ever.
Yeah.
See you next year.
In a normal year, we'd head out in the parking lot for a hot dog lunch.